Welcome to Trevor's Trains. Hello. Something a little bit different today. I'm going to have a chat to Greg McDonald. Now, if you're in the TT120 community, you'll probably have come across Greg at some point because he's a regular contributor to the Hornby Forum. He's the person who set up the TT120 Resource Hub, which is a great source of finding out everything to do with TT120. Also, he has his own YouTube channel that has well over 1,000 subscribers, and yesterday when I looked he'd made 119 videos, so quite proficient in that area. But also he makes 3D resources that we can put onto our layouts. I'll just show you a couple of them that I've bought. Yes, here on my layout is the wood that fills one wagon and then the tarpaulin sheet that I've still got to paint. So both of those are things that Greg has produced. So let's zoom up to Scotland and have a chat. Yes. Okay. Lovely to have you on my channel, Greg. Thank you very much for giving up your time and doing this. I've just briefly told the viewers a little bit about why I asked you to do this. Who is Greg McDonald?
He's nobody. He's he is well. First of all, Trevor, thank you for having me on. I am flattered by it, to be quite honest, and we've corresponded, of course, directly through the TT120 stuff. But we also have a further connection of both being believers and Christians, and so that's who I am first and foremost. I'm a Christian. I'm a minister, but first of all, I'm a Christian. I'm Scottish. I live in the Outer Hebrides. I have a family of four and a dear wife, Lorraine. So that's something of who Greg McDonald is. If that's of any interest to anybody out there.
It is. Now, I remember you were very, very brave and you put on your video channel a recording that was probably made on a little cine camera when you were just a youngster recording your model layout, if you remember putting this on. So have you always had a model layout?
Not always, but for a long time, there was the obligatory interlude when life took over. But myself, my brother growing up, my brother is phenomenally knowledgeable and interested in the animal kingdom of all sorts. So
Okay.
birds particularly, but snakes and lizards and whales and anything you need, anything that breathes and moves that was a part of the creation, he knows about. And I think being a little brother, I determined not to be interested in natural things. I liked machinery and I liked things that had engines and you could make with tools and stuff. So I kind of had a different bent of mind in that. And then one Christmas, my parents bought me a wee secondhand Hornby train set, and that was that. That was my thing then.
How
That
old were you
was
then?
I'd have been probably about 9 or 10, maybe.
Yeah.
I still remember. I still remember the the obligatory Christmas slippers shoebox was turned upside down to cut two portals in the end. That was a tunnel as it was running around on my mother's kitchen table on Christmas Day, and that was I was just thought this was a brilliant thing. And then my dad, not long after that, he decided to realize, I think, that my kitchen table wasn't the place to have it permanently. So he took an old cupboard door off. It's like a full size door, but it was a thin cupboard. That door off its hinges, laid it flat in a spare room, and that became my first train board. And a mate of mine, best friend actually in school, his dad was really into model trains and had it when he was a kid. And so his stuff came out of the attic, and then we started working together a lot, and we did stuff back and forth. So yeah, that was that was longer ago. That would have been the second half of the 1980s, up until about 1989 or so, and then we moved. And when we moved, got a bigger layout, got an opportunity. First of all, for I think a 7x3, and then managed to extend it an 8x4, and then you could make the layouts that you saw in the Hornby track plan book then, because you had an 8x4. That was, to me, 8x4 was huge. And there was nothing you couldn't put on an 8x4 board. You could do anything you wanted. And that was then the one that you saw. That was video. There was a mate of mine. We were living by then in South Africa. A mate of mine, his dad had a camcorder, and it was an ancient thing. I mean, there was the camera was separate. There was this double cord, one of which went to a huge big battery, one of which went to a massive VHS style cassette looking thing that hung like a handbag over your shoulder, and that
I
was what the
remember
cord
them.
run to. But yeah, I was quite pleased with my little model, and at that point, of course, that was just being made for my own fun. Never thought of it venturing out into the light of day, and certainly not onto anything called an internet. So
The
yeah,
young you would probably be thrilled to think that so many people watch that.
or slightly freaked out, I think, as well. Probably, truth be told. But yeah, that was, and then we moved back to Scotland, and I did attempt in a half decent. I tried an L girder system, open frame layout,
Yeah.
in my bedroom, and sort of, I mean, by that point, later teens, 16, 17. So I had a 14-foot run then, but just about 2 feet wide, kind of dog bone style layout. That
Mhm.
one never got finished because you hit 17 and suddenly you want to learn to drive and you've
Yeah.
got exams to sit and all the rest of it. But that was there, and then everything got packed away until the kids came along,
Yeah.
and then Dad decided they really would like model railways, and I should,
Absolutely.
for their sake,
Yes.
yes, I
Totally.
should,
Totally.
yeah, entirely, and I haven't gone away since. So, and
So
the
what
oldest is now engaged to get married. So so
so what got you into TT120? Why did you start a TT120 layout and got into that scale?
it's a good question. Partly the being a sucker for the new shiny thing, to be quite honest.
Hmm.
Partly that, I'd have to say that. I do like my gadgets anyway, so I've always liked gadgetry. But also, initially, it was a certain thrownness, I think. I was annoyed at the amount of negativity around it. And that actually pushed me to get it. I saw it and thought, fair play, I can understand why they're doing that. But at when I initially saw the launcher, I had no real expectation of getting it. I
Hmm.
had double O, and I'd always had double O, and I was very happy with double O.
Yeah.
I didn't really care, even to be perfectly honest. I know that some folk get wound up a bit, oh, but the gauge doesn't match the scale and double O. That never really bothered me with double O, to be quite honest.
Hmm.
I'm just not, I'm not knowledgeable enough of the prototypes to really find that a problem.
Hmm.
So it wasn't that. It was more the sort of negativity that hit, and I thought, well, I'm going to get some of the stuff and show it. It was that sort of, yeah. There's maybe that's revealing something about my personality that maybe I shouldn't have let slip.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. So you started right at the beginning, sort of thing?
Pretty early, yeah. I didn't order one of the original sets. No, the first thing I went for was the 08. My intention actually was just to have a wee Ingeluke shunting layout. That was what I
Yeah.
thought I would.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. This is ideally suited for that. That'll do nicely. I was quite into my Ingelukes at that point, and so I didn't. Even though, to be quite honest, looking back at it now, I wish I'd done more pre-ordering because the pre-order prices when stuff first came out were phenomenal.
Yeah. I
And I
know.
wish I'd been braver. So I missed maybe some of the ultra bargains that were available at that point. But no, I intended just to get. I think I started the layout with as a module with Pico because the Pico track was out first.
Yeah.
And I got the Pico track and I got Pico wagon or two before the Hobby stuff was out.
Yeah.
Just to get it set. That gave me something to work with, and I did
Yeah.
a very simple station branch line thing idea, and that was my first module. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, very soon, I guess you started a YouTube channel to sort of show your progress and just, I don't what started caused you to set that up and
Yeah, again, it was probably this sort of thrownness to some extent. My very first video was a kind of an attempt to give answers to the negativity around TT120. It
yeah.
was an attempt to say, well, look, I didn't have any of it at this point. I hadn't I hadn't pre-ordered anything, but it was an attempt to say, look, give Hornby a break here. That they're trying something different. They're trying to expand the hobby. It's not going to affect you guys in double O particularly at all. It's not going to bring the house down. Let's see how it goes. And so it was just that kind of a initial video, and I kept coming through, and I did it just overlay, a voiceover overlay of a wee double O shunting layout that was just churning back and forth, a bit of shunting happening at the same time. And I went up, posted up, and that was the first thing I'd ever done. I thought, what am I going to call this? I don't know what to call it. And I was watching, as everyone, I think everyone was, whether at some point I was watching a lot of Sam's trains, so it became Mac trains simply because I had no imagination. That was the long and the short of it. So apologies to Sam. Thank you for your stuff. I've somewhat cribbed you there. It's Mac trains. And
I don't think you're going to get sued.
yeah, hopefully not. And so that went up, and after it went up, it was morely just to relieve my own frustration. And I kept coming through to my wife and going, "You won't believe it. There's 100 people have watched that now." And then a few days later, "You won't believe it. There's 200 that have watched it now." And it just kept climbing. And I was like, "This is weird. This is very, very odd." And at the same time, in one of these Q&As, Simon Kohler was still, of course, with Hornby then. He was pushing TT very, very much. And
Very much so.
he put up onto it, "Look, if you've got questions, get in touch. Here's my email address." And I thought, there's no way that the chief Hornby man is going to be able to respond to questions about this personally and directly.
Yeah,
But he did. I threw a few questions on, and he came back very politely, very helpfully, and absolutely no problem get in touch. Any more questions, please get in touch again. And so I was cheeky enough thereafter to say, "Got this tiny little channel. Don't suppose you'd come on for an interview?" Yeah, no bother at all. We'll arrange that."
Wow.
And I was, whoa, okay. Now I've got to think of something coherent to ask Simon Kohler about model railways. That won't sound like I'm a complete idiot. And that's where the channel started, really. I think that Simon being willing to come on.
Yeah, I remember watching that and really enjoying that interview. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was a good chat.
Yeah. And I mean, Simon's just got, he's got a wealth of experience, and you just sort of like the old clockwork tree, just wind him up, let him go, and he'll carry the interview for you. So yeah.
I remember bumping into him at the NEC last year, and I wish I'd recorded an interview. I'm sure he would have said yes, but I just shook him by the hand and said, "Thank you very much for giving us TT. I know that it was a team effort probably as well, but without you, I wouldn't be standing here today in a model railway exhibition hall, looking at stuff to buy and making a little film about it, So it was nice to be able to do that. And I pointed out to you just before we started recording, you're about to make your 120th video as well. So that you stick a lot of stuff out there that's really good.
Yeah, I hadn't done the count. I hadn't noticed that, so I'm very grateful to Trevor for noticing that for me. So I'll have to try and make the 120th one somewhat notable. I think that with a TT120 scale, it should be something that hopefully people want to watch, and if they do, then tremendous.
I always think that I like to watch other TT120 channels, but I always think yours and Peach's are the two must-to look at to sort of keep a good overview of the hobby and how it's progressed. So thank you very much for what you put out. But you also make items now to sell. There's Mac Shops. The franchise is getting bigger. We've got Mac Trains, the video channel. We've got Mac Shop, tell us about the items that you make and what you sell, and why did you get into that?
Yeah, my family very kindly, a year and a half maybe ago, bought me for my birthday a 3D printer, which is sitting right there.
Yeah.
And that allows, I am not, truth be told, Trevor, I am not very good with fine stuff.
Yeah.
I've never been someone who, I love working my hands. I love doing practical stuff. Give me timber and a saw. I'm quite happy to try and knock up a frame, anything like that. But then trying to get down to the detail, trying to get down even finishings, smooth finish, I'm not good at that. And so a 3D printer suddenly allowed me to do things, because I can design stuff on CAD without much difficulty.
Yeah.
But this allowed me to actually produce them to a level that didn't look awful. It didn't look really ham-fisted. And so I started making stuff for myself, quite literally. A lot of the stuff in my original modules was stuff I wanted to make. I wanted co-loads, and I could have bought co-loads. Well, I'm going to design co-loads, so I did. And other people might want them as well, so I stuck them up for sale, and that's what started the stuff for sale. Some stuff I designed just for me that nobody wants to buy. That's fine. There was some factory ends, sort of low relief factory ends, never sold. Fine. But I wanted them. I wanted them on my layer, so I designed them, made them, and they're up there. So it's all been stuff that is not really done initially for selling. It's done because I wanted it, and I needed. I designed a wee uncoupling tool because I found the coupling's good but fiddly to undo.
Yeah.
So I designed a coupling tool. That's a couple of quid on eBay, and it's probably the best seller I've got. That every time I post some more, someone buys some more of these things. So other folk probably find the same thing. And likewise, a back-to-back gauge, and various folks saying you need to check your back-to-backs. I didn't really understand what that meant at the time, so I looked into a wee bit and then see what was available, and thought I could design that quite easily. So I designed that, printed some off myself, and used it to check my back-to-backs.
Yeah,
and that went up for sale. So it's that kind of a thing that I've done. It's very much a sideline of a sideline. But I enjoy that as well. I have to say I've enjoyed. I know I've branched out, and I got an absolute steal on eBay about 6 months ago, not even 6 months ago, 3-4 months ago, of a resin printer. So now I can do some resin prints as well, and that that level of detail they can produce is phenomenal. And that's really at the level where so far my CAD skills aren't up to the level of what the resin can do, to be perfectly honest. So more of the stuff I've done in resin is printing off other folks' designs you can download from the internet for free, and maybe done some of these things for myself. So that hasn't so much gone for sale, but some of it has, but most of it hasn't.
So have you got any ideas of things that you'd like to have a tackle at to make? And
I was looking at some stuff recently, even of a diesel depot stuff, some of the diesel pumps, oil tanks, and so on for a diesel depot. I think I could probably have a go at designing that.
Okay. Yeah.
Peachy was looking for a cattle dock off me at some point, but that one came out okay on the CAD, but isn't printing terribly well on my printer. I think it's probably the limit of what my budget printer can manage. So so I did a wee cattle dock. But yeah, there's always, it's just as ideas come out, whatever comes out next from Hornby, that I can piggyback onto, I suppose, which is why I think the co-loads have gone well, because people have got their wagons from Pico and Hornby, and it's easier just to. It's not difficult. People want to make their own co-loads. Go ahead and do that, because that'll probably look better than 3D printed stuff.
Yeah.
But there's something easier, something just clicking and buying, to be quite honest, as well. And so I've managed to sell some of these. I did the timber loads. I was quite pleased with on the 3D printer.
I like the timber loads.
Yeah. I think they kind of looked at a level I was quite happy with. I felt they were something I would be happy to buy if I went into a model shop and I saw them. I'd be quite happy to buy them there.
I like the tarpaulin, because each one's in the set of 4 is very, very is different, so that it's not a unified churn out. Everyone's the same. Each one is slightly different. You can tell it's a different thing. So I think that really works.
Yeah, the tarpaulins were probably the most finesse thing I've done so far. To me,
You've got the folds in it, haven't you?
Yeah, and it's again, it's using the computer and software, but basically, there's an app you can get where you very roughly model the body of a wagon, in which you'll model some kind of a form of a load, an imaginary load. It doesn't be any detail at all, and then you simply create a rectangle above it in the CAD.
Yeah,
that is your tarpaulin, and you get it the right size and shape and place it up there, and then you tell the software, by the way, I want this floating piece of rectangle here to be treated as a piece of cloth, and I want to be affected by gravity, and I want it to interact with this. And so it'll then, the software literally, you'll see it fall down and fold round It's mesmerizing to watch it. Um, and so what you have underneath it, it falls and folds in different ways then. And then you have to sort of work with that shell, and you thicken it up a wee bit because it's just a pixel
Yeah.
thick by itself. You have to kind of thicken it or it won't print properly. And but that's been great. I'm quite pleased with them. I think of all the stuff, I think that's probably the highest end stuff I've tried so far. Yeah,
No, I was
I'm
delighted with mine.
a little bit proud of them. Probably that's probably I shouldn't be, but I am.
Quite right. No, no, there's nothing wrong with a bit of modesty, as you can read in my book, Modesty and How I Achieved It. Um, now, um, you all that going back probably about 18 months ago, I put on one of the Facebook forums, wouldn't it be wonderful if we had a resource hub that online that had where you can buy things, what you can buy things, and then a few months later, Greg,
Ta-da!
you set up exactly what I was wanting to see, but had no expertise or what have you to do it. So why did you set up the resource hub? What inspired you to do that? Because it's such a useful thing.
Oh, thank you, Trevor. Yeah, the Resource Hub came about. If if the 3D printing came about as a result of my lack of ability to fine scale model stuff with my hands, then
Yeah,
the Resource Hub came about because I've got a terrible memory. And there was all these great things that were out there, and you'd see them be mentioned in the forums and whatnot. Oh, I've seen so and so's produced MS models have produced this, or L-cut lathes have produced that, and I go, oh, great, that's great. And then a month or two later, I go, now what was it? Where was that going? I couldn't remember. I knew there was something really good mentioned somewhere, and I had no clear way of finding it again. So I thought I need to draw this together. So I started compiling a database myself.
right.
I thought, and it was very much a boring spreadsheet at that point. But I thought, well, if this is useful to me again, this might be useful to others. So I mooted the idea to a few folk of putting out a resource hub, got kind of positive feedback, and thought, right, I'm gonna have an attempt at this. And
Yeah,
so it's still it's a slow burn of the resource hub, but it's not. That's none of the folk are on there. They don't get charged advertising fees. I don't charge them on there. I don't take a cut from what I sell from there. It's
yeah,
basically a place people can go to.
yeah,
There's links to all different places,
yeah,
all different models. Go and see, and
yeah.
increasingly the amount that's on it is. I mean, you could. There's a huge amount. You could spend your whole life savings, I think, if you bought all stuff that's linked to that resource hub, which would not be advisable. Please
No,
don't do that.
don't do this.
Oh no, no. But it gives people that idea. I think when some folk still have the notion that TT, there's nothing there. You can build a bare childlike layer because there's just not enough material, not enough resources. And that's actually just not the case.
Yeah,
The amount that is now out there for TT, given the shortness of time, is phenomenal.
yeah,
I'm absolutely staggered by the amount of stuff that's been produced
yeah,
for the
yeah.
scale in the time that we've had this scale available to us.
Yeah.
Uh,
If anybody's watching this video and hasn't been to it, it's just if they just Google TT120 Resource Hub, I think you'll
yeah, that will
find it
come
quite
up. It's
easily. Yeah.
yeah, it's I never remember exactly. I think it's officially TT120 Resource Hub dot moberize
Yeah, that's the
site or
hosting.
something like that.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
can't. But
But
if you
you'll
Google it,
find it.
you
Yeah,
will
it's
come up
well
with it.
worth a visit. I
Uh,
sometimes every now and again will have a look into the different sections, and you've got different sections and different categories. And there's a couple of shops I visited and said, get yourself on the resource hub. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so
We don't
hopefully
promise to
fills up.
transform anyone's TT sales overnight, but nonetheless, if you're out there and you've got stuff in your own shop that's TT120 related and you'd like it, a link to it, send me an email.
Yeah,
As some of them know, I can take a while to get there, but I will get that. I will add it in.
that's
And
brilliant.
as
So
when.
thank you from the TT community for doing that. That's great.
Very kind, Trevor. Not at
How
all.
can you
My
see
pleasure.
TT moving on in the next few years?
Yeah, I think I'm quite optimistic of the scale, I have to be
Mm.
honest. I'm
Oh,
quite
yeah,
optimistic. We've got Revolution breaking cover a bit with going outside the Hornby Pico bubble for TT120. So they're coming up with their wagon, JNA wagons later. They've available to pre-order. I would be astonished if this year we don't have others. I would be not at all surprised. I don't have any inside information. I'm not physically connected to anyone. I'm as far away physically from all these things as virtually as possible to be in the UK. So I don't have any folks. I think some seem to think sometimes I have some kind of connections, and I really don't. Beyond having spoken, I say now to Simon Kohler and now Martin Weaver as he's taken over, but that's what you see on these interviews is all I know. There's nothing hidden beyond that, and I'd be very surprised if this isn't an area that other manufacturers are looking into actively, because I know the TT branch in the UK is way smaller than 00. No question about it. Way smaller. Way smaller. And is going to be way smaller for decades to come. So on the one sense, you're a market as you produce something as a model railway producer, manufacturer. You say, well, 00 is where the market is. Well, that's true up to a point. But if you produce a class 25 and 00, you've got competing models already out there. And you've got how many of the large 00 market are actually going to buy it? Probably, if you were to get 5% of active 00 modelers buying your model, I would imagine that's a very good rate.
Yeah, it would be. Would be.
And to me, the question is then, okay, is that 5% of the 00 market, is that bigger than the virtually, right now, you produce them in TT, almost everyone who's TT is going to buy your model because we're all so starved of what there is available.
Yeah.
So that to me, and you get the first mover advantage, not quite first mover, second or third mover advantage of being early in a scale that's likely to grow, and you get yourself established. So to me, that must be appealing on a business level. But that's my logic. I've never run a business in my life. I could be miles off. That's what I think will happen. I think there is space for growth, and I'm quite optimistic. I think Hornby will continue to invest in it. I think that we should expect them to do so. I think they've shown that commitment, and they seem to be very upfront about that. I've been quite impressed with the straightforwardness, if you like, when we've had Martin Weaver on the Peachy channel. With the straightforwardness, you can ask him questions. He'll tell you.
Yeah,
he seems to be just that level of upfrontness, which I appreciate. I have to say, I think that's useful and helpful, and that breeds confidence to me.
It does. Now, I was watching on your channel, and you're building your own new layout, aren't you? And I was very impressed indeed.
Well,
how's it going? Enjoying it?
I'm loving it. Yeah, I do love it. And it frustrates me at times, and I get myself on all a fankle sometimes with the wiring and which one's this one around? I'm in the middle just now. I got the lower level track down, and it was just some literally crocodile clips to the track power to get something running, and I've had something running around. It's a reverse loop, so I can't even do a full return yet because the reverse loop isn't wired in. Flip the polarity. I've got that piece of gadgetry on order that'll do that for me. But then I had to take off all the locos and flip the board upside down, and now actually work on the wiring underneath, which my soldering skills, if there was the equivalent of a 3D printer would do the soldering for me, that would be a lovely thing. Because if you ever look at anyone's advice, how to solder, the first thing they say is buy a decent soldering iron, which I didn't do. I bought a cheap one, and it's rubbish. But nonetheless, it still works, and therefore I don't feel I should actually get rid of it yet. I can't justify a new one, but that's my excuse for why my soldering is rubbish as well. Just now, if I buy a good one and it's still rubbish, I've got no one to blame but myself. Whereas just now I can blame the soldering iron, so that's fine.
That was one of my frustrations coming into the hobby. As a total newbie, came in. I watched the Hornby TV program and saw Simon talking about TT and thinking, hey, in this room I could fit a little layout in that scale. So I've got the power at one end, and I designed everything so it could just power from the one little thing that you slot in. nobody told you that to work effectively over here, I need to have a little bus. What's a bus? I didn't know. And it was just the
It's the
basic
number
stuff.
27 that goes past on the road into
Well,
London.
it's so having them put the track down and then put the ballast down and then everything, and then thinking, oh, what? Really, it's going to work a lot easier and smoother if I've got power. So I'm now having to get back to because nobody told me.
Yes, yes. I do think sometimes like folk forget how much jargon and how much assumed knowledge there can be.
Yeah, that's what I
And
found. Yeah,
I think a lot of stuff could be way simpler,
yeah,
way simpler. Like to me, the fitting of the most thing recently I've done on 3D printing has been these wee plates for point motors.
yeah. I've
That
seen that. Yeah,
that should be that shouldn't be this. That shouldn't be this. That shouldn't be difficult. That shouldn't be you buy the point and it's unpowered. So then you've got to buy the point motor, but the point motor might not fit properly underneath your layer because you've got a thick layer. You might have to buy a point extension bar, and then you have to find a way of mounting. You go buy a mounting plate, and then you've got to get a jig to get it just so on the point, and then you've got to solder this stupid point motor up because it hasn't come with wires. Why does it not come with wires? You know, this kind of stuff to me drives me nuts.
yeah,
That should be available almost as a single unit that clips on and job's done.
yeah,
That's just it's so there's a lot of stuff that just hasn't moved on since the 60s.
yeah,
You know, these point motors, these strong line I know there's the servo motors, which are much more advanced.
yeah.
And there's the slow action, they're super smooth, but they're also 5 times the price. You know,
Yeah.
and there might be effectively a lot of them you have to have a DCC chip for that point motor, which again increases the price substantially. So there's things that could be done to make it a lot more user friendly still. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes folk coming in like yourself
Yeah. So
with
I knew
that
nothing.
freshness to say, hang on, why is this not easier?
Yeah.
We could have always done it this way,
See,
why is it not easier?
I use the HM7000 app, and
Okay.
I think I find that because I am very untechnical. I
Yeah.
sort of look at it and it sort of intimidates me. Anything with a load of numbers and things, and I thought, why is there not a button to say add new loco?
Yeah.
Just something as simple as that, and I've had to find it and look at it, and so simplicity is certainly for people who are less intelligent, like my good self, it will be very much appreciated.
Yeah, I agree. I think HM's and the remarkable thing is HM7000 is a leap forward in simplicity over the traditional
Yeah,
DCC stuff.
yeah, I believe so.
But it's still almost there's more that can be done, I think, in the user interface for
Yeah,
HM7000 to
yeah,
make it much smoother. It's a bit clunky still in places.
yeah,
It's a step in the right direction,
yeah.
but
That's good.
more to be done. Yeah.
Okay, out of your models, the things that you've got so far,
Hmm.
what's your favorite model that you've got so far? If you could
Yeah.
only have one.
Now you see, um, oh, it would probably be the 50. I
Okay,
have a real soft spot for the 50, I have to say. I haven't got a Duchess. I should say that.
no,
A lot
I've
of folk
not.
love the Duchess. It's a big long loco, and I think I think I would want a longer layout to really show it off. So I haven't got a Duchess. I've got a Nighthawk, which is also a cracking logo, and I love my wee O8, but the
Yeah,
O8 is compromised. I think probably more than it would be if it came out now. It's quite lightweight. I had to do a bit of fiddling to actually get a HM7000 chip into it. It's not really designed for that yet.
yeah,
So the 50 to me was virtually flawless. I know some folk had issues with the drive shafts. I didn't, so I can't
no,
talk to that.
fair enough.
Mine has been flawless. It runs beautifully. It is phenomenally strong. The detail is excellent. The lighting package is lovely. The sound is rich. So to me, the 50 so far has been the high point. The 66 is close behind it. But 66 is a bit too modern for me, probably, if truth be told.
Yeah.
I bought it because I could get in the blue livery, and that allows me to cheat. But it's not really what I was looking to model. Not that I'm too desperately hung up on different eras, to be quite honest. I just
Yeah,
like what I like, and down
yeah,
it goes
fair
in the
enough.
track.
Fair enough.
Yeah. What
Now,
about yourself? What's your favorite? If I can throw it back at you.
I've just all I've got is the Falcon and the Falcon and the Trigo, and I'm waiting for the J50.
Ah, yes.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that would be, um, and if that can be made uh, HM7000, then that would complete it because I do want to do a little Inglenook at some point,
Ah,
just a small little branch line. So the big trains are great, but a
yeah.
little branch line station, the J50, I think would be
I will
fine.
suit beautifully. And if they I, I think that the fabled six pin to come out for the class '08 and the J50, when they're out, I think that will increase the sales of these smaller locos substantially
Yeah,
because then this whole thing's you have to do a lot of uncomfortable faffing around to get shoehorn these things into an '08 just now.
yeah.
And the
Which has
J50
put
is,
me off
I
getting
think
an
it is.
'08. I was
Yeah,
thinking of getting
I can
one, but
totally
it's that.
understand that. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally understand that. I think that the J50 right now, I've not got a pre-order for J50. I've not got a pre-order. I have not got a pre-order for the J50. But seeing the photos that Dave Busker took at Model Rail Scotland and going, that looks
it
good.
does look good, doesn't
That looks
it?
good.
I
It
saw
does.
that.
So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, if a few more coal loads sold, I might be able to justify it. In the meantime, it'll have to stay on the maybe list.
Indeed. Now, the last question. It's it's the end of February when we're recording this, and
Yeah.
hopefully, sometime in April, we'll get the Hornby Next announcements. What would you love to see being announced? You can dream.
Yeah,
You are
yeah. Well,
Simon Kohler's replacement. You are there at Hornby, and you can
yeah.
say, "Make me one of these." What would you love?
I would love, and I've said this for a while now. I would love there to be a new kind of train set,
Oh, okay.
an Inglenook ready train set. You don't buy an oval, you buy
Yeah,
an Inglenook with a J50 or a simplified one, even more so, like a real maybe an off-road thing right
yeah,
down, a few wagons that allows people to start as a shunting there. Because I think TT is just crying out for look how small, look how easy we can make this to be.
yeah,
We
yeah,
we can get you up with beautifully crafted models that are not ancient tooling, they're not from the Triang days of the 60s that
yeah,
we've just reskinned a few times. This is a good model, quality setup. I mean, literally 2 points, a few straights, and you're done in the box, along with a loco and three wagons. And you've got an Inglenook setup.
yeah.
That I think it wouldn't have to be marketed as a cheap train
No,
set, but as a we're rethinking the train set. We're not going to roundy round loop, one loop that everyone gets bored with very quickly and so you have to buy more stuff. This actually is not a train set then. It's a model layout in a box.
yeah. That
That's what it
sounds
is. A layout
really
in a box. That to me is what I would think if I was when I become boss of Hornby.
yes.
Yes, yes. Give up the day job.
You're
Forget this
hired.
preaching malarkey. No. So that's what I would push for.
The one
Um,
thing I would love is an old DMU because that
okay.
would look really good on my
Yeah.
little branch line. So that
Yeah, I
it's a
can see
little,
that running in at your station there just now. Yeah,
yeah, you
that
could
would
just
be great.
imagine a little DMU rattling along there. That I think that would, I think that would look good. That'd be the one thing I would want to see. I'm sure it will come, but I think
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that a
they should.
DMU is one that has a lot of appeal to people. So I'd be
Yeah,
surprised if that's not been looked at,
yeah.
whether by Hornby or who else. I don't know. But yeah, excellent.
Okay,
There's
thank you
more
so
to
much.
come.
Thank you so much for your time this morning.
No,
And
thank you for
just
asking me.
like we always say on these videos, and you say the same, please, those who are watching, like, subscribe, make comments, and the questions that I've asked Greg this morning, please put your own answers at the bottom there. That'd be really good. So thank you very much for your time. Okay, see you.